Rambam. We continue in the laws of edus, testimony. Testimony for a court, witnesses who give testimony. We are in chapter 5. A ruling is never delivered in any judgment on the basis of testimony of one witness, not in the cases involving financial loss, nor in the cases involving capital punishment. As the verse says in Devarim, one witness should not stand up against another person with regard to any transgression or any sin. According to the oral tradition, we learned, oral tradition, right? Talmud decoded. We learned that the testimony is effective with regard to an oath, as stated in Hilchos Tayim V'Nitan. Right. In other words, one witness cannot it is not used against a person in the judgment, but it's used against the person, one witness, to make them take an oath. That's what it accomplishes, right? In the two situations, Torah accepted the testimony of one witness. Okay, now we're modifying this law. What is that? With regard to a saita, so she does not drink the bitter waters. A saita, a woman who was acted inappropriately, and there's a potion of water that she needs to drink to either absolve her of any wrongdoing, right? Sexually, a woman who's a married woman with another man. So she'd be absolved if it has no effect on her. Actually, it'll have a positive effect if she was innocent. And if she was guilty, then it'll have a bitter end. Right? It was kind of pretty, it was a miracle potion. That's one. And with regard to a calf whose neck is broken, to prevent the neck from being broken, as explained. And that's the law of someone who was murdered. And outside of the city, and sort of like in the backwoods, if you will, and we don't know who the murderer is. By having the murderer and the murderer, there's an atonement that's brought to it. So there's no atonement. So this is the concept of the calf whose neck is broken that brings an atonement for this murder that was not that they're no one apprehended for it. So one witness will prevent this thing from happening. Okay. Similarly, according to rabbinic law, we accept the testimony of one witness with regard to testimony concerning a woman if she testified regarding her that her husband died. So rabbinic law, interesting. Husband went out to war. Husband went out for business, and we hear that he died, but it's not so clear. So you need two witnesses to create a reality of something. But for a woman, that she would be able to remarry, right? I'm thinking about, especially back in the day, how crucial this was. I mean, it's even crucial today, but not as much. I mean, today, it's we can communicate in a moment across the world. Back then you couldn't. So if you went off to war, if you went out for business, to a country, by sailing there, and he died. But there's only testimony of one witness. That's sufficient for her to remarry. Because the concept of support for a woman is crucial. Halacha number 3, whenever the testimony of one witness is effective, a woman and a person disqualified as a witness may also testify. So usually women are not giving testimony when it's two witnesses. But in this idea of one witness is okay, and also disqualified person. There is, however, an exception, a witness who requires that an oath be taken. We do not require that an oath be taken except on the basis of testimony that is acceptable and fit to be joined with the testimony of another person to obligate the person taking the oath to make a financial restitution. So that would be only then not someone who's disqualified or a woman in that instance to obligate a person to take an oath. It says in the verse, in Dvarim, on the basis of testimony of two witnesses, or on the basis of a testimony of three witnesses, establishing an equation between three witnesses and two witnesses. What does that mean? Right, so the Torah says 2, 3 creates a reality, creates authenticity, creates, an obligation based on what the, what the charge is, right? Whether it's a murder case, whether it's a financial case. So just as there are two witnesses, if one of them is discovered to be a relative or unfit to deliver testimony, the entire testimony is nullified. So we look at the testimony of the two or the three or the more as one unit. One unit. So if part of that unit is disqualified, it disqualifies the entire unit. Right? So too, if there were three, or even 100 witnesses, and one of them is discovered to be a relative. So you can't have, as we learned this previously, you can't have two witnesses and they're related to each other, right? That's disqualified. Why? The decree, Torah says so. There's some discussion and debate about that, but in any case, so 1 out of 100, oh, they're relatives. Guess what? Testimony is nullified. It's disqualified, that testimony. This applies both in matters involving financial matters and in cases involving capital punishment. And there's no distinction. It's disqualified. When does the above apply? When all of the potential witnesses had the intent of delivering testimony. If, however, they did not all intend to deliver testimony, the testimony will not be nullified. So what should two brothers do when they are together with other people and the others see a person murder a colleague, injure him, or grab an article from his hand? So we got a problem. Let's say there's 5 people that saw someone injure somebody or saw someone murder someone, right? Well, they're witnesses. But then they have an obligation to tell their testimony. But we have 2 brothers here and they're going to disqualify. So how do you deal with that? That it shouldn't be disqualified. How do we investigate the matter? When many witnesses come to the court as a single group, we ask them, when you saw this person kill or injure, was your intent to serve as a witness or merely to observe? Right? All those who say that their intent was not to serve as a witness, but they came merely to observe the matter as a part of a people at large. Like those people take a video of what's going on, right? They're not serving as witnesses. They want to observe, they just, whatever, getting a kick out of this guy who's taking advantage of another guy and stealing something from him. As opposed to a witness, right? Who is a witness to the evil. And as a witness, as also, either they are warning the person of the evil that they're about to perpetrate, or they're part of that process. As they have an intent to be part of the process of observing in order to be a witness in court to wipe out this evil, to right the wrong. But if their intent was merely to observe the matter, right? So all those who say, I stood and took notice solely for the purpose of serving as a witness, and being precise in my testimony are set aside. If a relative or an unacceptable witness is found among them, those who intended to deliver testimony, the entire testimony is nullified. When does the above apply? Right, so now you set aside. So it's from the 5, let's say 3 were used, did it to serve as testimony. Of the 3, there's 2 brothers there, and it's nullified. So when does the above apply? When the relative or the unacceptable witness was present. If, however, they are all acceptable to serve as witnesses, their testimony is taken into account whether they intend to serve as witnesses or not. Since they observed the matter, related the particulars of the testimony, or a warning, and a warning was given to the transgressor, the matter is adjudicated on this basis. This applies most matters involving financial law and law in cases involving capital punishment. I have to look more into this. It is unfortunate I have to go. Thank you, folks. Amazing. A beautiful, wonderful day. See you by JLI later.